I am not where I normally am. I am actually heading home, and I know it's been a while since I posted, so I want to say thank you for everybody for your patience with me as I make my way back home. There was no video last week, and so for those of you who are new to my channel, I normally post videos on Friday, but I have been so busy over the last few weeks. I'll explain that as we get a little further into the video, but yeah, let me just say that this video started a few weeks ago, actually. At that point, there was still snow on the ground, and the ponds and lakes were still frozen over, but the rivers were starting to thaw out. I was on my way up to Tetlin National Wildlife Refuge when I happened to pass the Gakona River and noticed that there was an ice jam that was breaking free. If you're not familiar with what an ice jam is, it's when the rivers begin to thaw out from all the snow and ice that has accumulated on them over the course of the winter. That ice begins to travel downstream where it might get jammed up, if you will. And then once it breaks free, you have this huge amount of ice that's just flowing downstream and taking everything out in its path, including large trees. But when an ice jam actually occurs, it dams up the river, and then that causes flooding in the surrounding areas. Last year, I showed how Glen Allen had become flooded due to the snow melt and the runoff. However, I'm not sure if they had the same amount of flooding this year as they did last year because I wasn't in the area at that time. But I did go through Glen Allen a few days later and noticed that they had replaced the culverts that they had put in last year with some even larger culverts this year to prevent future flooding. So flooding is something that is very predominant here in Alaska. Luckily, I don't have to worry about that on my property, at least not from lakes, rivers, or streams overflowing. As I was saying, I had gone up to Tetlin National Wildlife Refuge, and that was a few weeks ago. I went up there just to do some scene hunting, see what I could experience. I wasn't sure what the weather would be like up there, if it would be completely snowed in still, or if things had thawed out. For the most part, it was free of snow. Some of the lakes were still frozen over though, but it is a beautiful area. If ever you have the chance to take the Toka cut off, I highly recommend that you do. It is a beautiful drive for sure. A few days after visiting Tetlin, it was Mother's Day, and I had the opportunity to head down to Valdez to experience the STOL competition. STOL stands for short takeoff and landings, though it is more than just that. But let me tell you, the short takeoff and landings are pretty incredible to watch. I watched a large military plane, sorry, I don't remember what type it was, but I watched it take off in a very short distance, and it was incredible to see. But like I said, it's more than just the short takeoff and landings. There was also some airplane acrobatics. Check this out. beyond that, there are some other competitions that take place, such as a flower bombing competition where they drop a sack of flour out of an airplane in an attempt to hit a traffic cone and see who can get the closest. There's a balloon popping competition where they release a balloon into the air and they try to pop it with their propellers. There's some other stunt things that go on, like dropping a roll of toilet paper from an airplane and then chopping it up with their propellers. Needless to say, I had a lot of fun down there that day. After leaving the Valdez airport, then I headed down and finally got a chance to check out the museums in Valdez. They're mainly showing history of Valdez, what Valdez was like prior to the earthquake in 1964, as well as some history just throughout the years. Most of it had to do with their fire department history over the years. But they had some amazing dioramas set up of Valdez. If you ever have the chance and you're in Valdez and you're looking for something to do, especially something family friendly or something that's very wholesome, check out those museums. I think it was like $12 to get in, so it wasn't a whole lot. It was pretty awesome, actually. But then, like I said, I've been busy beyond getting to do some fun things as well. Not that I didn't have a good time doing this, but I've also taken on a few odd jobs. So I've been helping out some friends of mine as they are gearing up for tourist season here in Alaska, and I'll be helping them throughout the summer maintain their cabins and their Airbnbs and things like that. So I just needed to do something to bring in a little bit of extra cash, because if I want to get some of the projects done around my cabin that I keep dreaming of, I need to make sure that I am replenishing my savings as I do that, because otherwise I'm going to deplete my savings. So taking on some odd jobs has kept me away from the cabin, and that's why I'm out and about today. Throughout this video, I'm going to share with you some of the footage that I got with my travels, a lot of amazing wildlife, so stick around for that. So I said at the beginning of this video about how there was still snow on the ground, the ponds and the lakes were still frozen and everything like that. But by the time I had gotten home from all my travels, the trees had leafed out and the skies had cleared up, and there was at least a couple days of sunshine. So I took that to my advantage and started to plant my garden. Last year I deconstructed the raised beds that were in the back of the property because I was having work done to level the ground back there, and I reconstructed them on the north side of my cabin, and then I surrounded that with a chain link dog run. And I did that for a couple reasons. One, to give Kenai, who is in the back of the car right now resting, he's tired from all the car travels we've been doing, a place to run. So I did it so Kenai would have a dog run, and then I also did it to keep moose and other wildlife out of my vegetable beds. But the chain link itself is just this stark gray against the dark brown of the cabin, and it really was an eyesore to me. I don't really like modern things, and it just looked out of place to me. So I decided that I was going to go ahead and spray paint that with a dark brown so it would blend into the cabin more. Now, I had done one panel last year with a black spray paint, and that really did absorb all the light and help it to fade away into the background. However, I didn't really like the look of the black when I was up close to it, so I decided this year that I'd spray paint it a brown metallic color. And you let me know, what do you think? I think it looks good. Even though it doesn't absorb as much light as the black did, I still am very pleased with how it looks. Now, it took about 1.5 cans of spray paint to do each panel, so I need to go get more spray paint so I can finish spraying the entire dog run, both on the outside and the inside, so that it is less obtrusive. I also took some time to run into the Matsu Valley so that I could get the supplies I needed to actually get my garden planted this year. I stated in a previous video that I had messed up the seeds that I planted this year. I never took the opportunity to replant them. And so I got some seedlings as well as some fresh soil and peat moss to put down in the garden beds. And here you can see that I'm just spreading the soil out and then raking that over and blending it all together so that it isn't in layers. I wasn't able to raise the bed up as much as I had hoped, but that's okay, because in this first section of the bed that is on the north run of the dog run, I'm planting nothing but potatoes. So I'm going to need to add layers of soil as I go along anyhow, because the potatoes will need to be hilled up over the course of the summer. Now I'm planting two different varieties. I'm planting a creamy yellow variety. I don't know the name of it. For the most part, that's what I'm planting. And then a few red potatoes that I had left over from last year. So those are planted on one end. And then behind that, I'm planting two varieties of peas. I'm planting a snow pea, a dwarf snow pea, and a sugar snap pea. So looking forward to those coming in. But let's talk about what's going in on the other side of the garden. Here I'm planting a variety of brassicas. I really love brassicas. So everything from Brussels sprouts and a variety of cabbages. I have two green cabbages that I'm planting, plus a Chinese cabbage that I'm really looking forward to. But in addition to that, I'm also planting kohlrabi. And I will be sharing a recipe with you later on this fall when the kohlrabi is ready to harvest. That is one of my favorites. I've mentioned it in a previous video, but I will be sharing it with you in an upcoming video. So make sure that you're subscribed and turn on bell notifications so that you're alerted to when that video actually comes out. Behind all the brassicas, though, I am planting a row of carrots. So they're going to be on the sunniest side of all the cabbages. And the carrots that I'm planting are just what I had left over from seed. So those are a Nantes something. I don't remember. I'll put a picture of it up here on the screen. But they're a half-size carrot. So they're not a big, long storage carrot. So they're not going to last me through the winter. So I'll be using these up shortly after they're harvested to make some pickled relish, or canning them potentially, or freezing them, though I don't like frozen carrots. I don't know anybody who does. But I'll be using those shortly after. So unfortunately, I'm just trying to use up the seeds that I brought with me. But when I plant my carrots, I like to actually dig a shallow trench, very shallow, and then roll out a single layer of toilet paper. I know it sounds weird, and I'm not a big fan of putting something like that in my garden, but it's the best thing that I've found to accomplish what I'm trying to. And that is, if I lay out this single row of toilet paper, then I can see where my seeds are going, because carrot seeds are so very, very fine. After I lay out as fine of a single line of carrot seeds, I'll cover that with about 1/4 inch of soil. And then after I wet it down, I'll be putting a couple boards over the top of that, because I don't want my carrot seeds to blow away, for one thing, or get washed away by the rain. And the other thing is that carrots actually germinate in the dark. So by putting these boards over the garden, I'll ensure that they're going to germinate. Now they'll take a couple weeks, so I'll have to keep lifting those boards up, making sure they're well watered, and then replacing the boards until I start to see them sprout. But there's a little tip for you about growing carrots, to make sure that you don't have to thin them so heavily, and to also make sure that they germinate properly. Then on the other side of the brassicas, I'm planting my beet. So the beets are to be planted every 4 to 6 inches. So right here, this is about 4 inches across, and all I'm doing is I'm just taking my finger down to the first knuckle in the soil, and I'm doing alternating rows. So my understanding is, and this does not make sense to me, that if you do it this way on a diagonal, which again does not compute in my brain, that you can plant them closer, because it's 4 inches to here and 4 inches to here. But I don't know, maybe this is 4 inches to here. it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But anyhow, I'm just making divots with my finger about a 1/2 inch deep. And then I'll put 2 to 3 seeds in each divot because there's no guarantee that each seed will germinate. And I'm growing some golden beets. I personally prefer those over red beets. I think they have a much sweeter flavor to them. And I love to prepare them by just dicing them up after peeling them and sauteing them in some butter and brown sugar, or even just butter and a little bit of molasses. Oh, yeah, they're like candy. And carrots are another thing that I like to candy when I eat them. I love fresh carrots, don't get me wrong, but candied carrots as a side dish, I have a sweet tooth, in case you couldn't tell. I absolutely love to candy, and Brussels sprouts too. So all those 3 things are going to get candied one way or another. You can make a drinking game, by the way, out of some of my videos, because I will repeat words over and over. So I apologize for that, because I'm sure I'm driving some of you crazy with some of the things that I've said on repetition in this video. But I'm not a speaker. That is not my forte. I don't give speeches for a living, even though I do YouTube, so I apologize. Anyhow, I digress. So these are just what I've got planted so far, because these are cool weather crops, and it's still a little bit early in this area to be planting a garden. In fact, we even got snow the morning that I planted all of this. Can you believe it? Our actual last frost date in this area is June 1st, and I'll only have about 100 days on average of grow time. So I wanted to get these cool weather crops out as soon as I possibly could. The beets are actually going in a little bit late, and as you can see, everything else was planted from starts, other than the potatoes, of course, right? But everything else was planted from seedlings, so they've had a few weeks start in greenhouses already, so hopefully I have a better harvest this year. In addition to all of the potatoes and the peas, I'm also planting a variety of cabbages. These here are called Fast Vantage, and they're a 2.5 pound head of green cabbage. Then I have one here that is like a Chinese cabbage called Gourmet. These are Brussels sprouts here. And then I have a stonehead cabbage growing right there. The sun has gone behind a tree. But in addition to all the cabbages that I'm growing, I'm also growing some kohlrabi, which I talked about in a previous video. I will show this when I harvest it and make a dish for you that I love, absolutely love. It's one of my faves. But as I mentioned, it's not everything I have going into the garden. So I also will be planting some celery. That will be going on the north side of the brassicas. And then I am going to be planting a couple zucchini plants and some cucumbers, as well as bell peppers and some jalapenos. So in a future video, I'm going to build a small greenhouse that I can put on the south side of my cabin to house the pepper plants. But unfortunately, the weather's just not really cooperating with me right now. It's been rainy and windy, and it's just not the opportune time to do that. So again, in a future video, I'll get that out for everybody so you can see how I'm going to just use materials that I have around the cabin to make myself a small greenhouse. While I was out at the garden centers, I also picked up some flowers because it's been so dark and dreary here that I just want some color around the cabin. I'm ready for a vibrant pop of color. So flowers are definitely going in. I picked up 3 different planters that'll be hanging in front of the cabin. And then in addition to that, I picked up some flowers that I can plant in and amongst the vegetables, or in this little bed that I have out in front of the vegetable garden itself. Right now, the only thing growing in there are some wild raspberries and what I'm hoping are strawberries. I'm still not convinced that these are strawberry plants, but if they're not, they're mock strawberries, and in which case they gotta go. So we'll see. Nothing produced any fruit last year, so I have no way of actually telling what this really is, but who knows? If they're strawberries, bonus. If they're not, they're gonna go and they'll just be replaced with flowers. I'll also be putting in some seeds for zinnias and other things along the north side of the garden too, to help just again provide a splash of color around the cabin. I guess there's a little bit more than just raspberries growing in here. There are also some chives growing in right here, and some rhubarb, and a lot of grass that needs to be pulled from here. So as I mentioned, I have taken on some jobs helping out some friends of mine get ready for the tourist season, and I'll be helping them throughout the summer. But in doing so, I had the opportunity to go down to the Kenai Peninsula and down to Homer again. While I was down there, I saw so many moose. There were more moose than I'd ever seen in one day in my entire life. It seemed like every mile to mile and a half, there was 1 to 2 moose on the road. So if you're traveling down there right now, be careful because they are out and about right now. But while I was down there, we went over to Deep Creek, I believe it's called, and I got to watch how they bring the boats in. But since there's no boat launch there, they actually use these giant tractors to bring the boats in off the water, and it is really incredible to watch. Very interesting. I had no idea that this is how it was done. But that whole area is swarming with bald eagles, and so I got some incredible up-close footage because they literally just sat there. They weren't fazed at all by the fact that I was just a few feet away from them filming them. Well, I am almost home, but I have more to share with you. So stick with me, and when I get back in just a moment, I'll share with you everything else that I've had going on over the past couple of weeks and what's yet to come in the upcoming weeks. And some goodies that people have sent to me as well. I really do appreciate everyone's patience with me not posting last week. Even though I am taking on some additional work outside of the cabin and outside of YouTube, I don't foresee any other delays coming up. Fingers crossed, right? You never know what's going to happen. But I do foresee lots of projects happening this summer. Um, the one of the upcoming videos that you're going to see is the kitchen reveal. I know I keep promising and promising, but that kitchen is just about complete. And so that should be coming out probably in about 2 weeks from now, because I have another video that's in the works for next week. So I think the kitchen reveal will happen 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks at the max. And then also the bathroom is going to be worked on this summer. Hopefully the stairs are going to get done also. These are the 3 big projects that are coming up right away. But I've also been in talks with my electrician. So he'll be coming out here in the next couple of weeks and getting all the wiring taken care of between this cabin and the bunkhouse. And trying to think what else I have going on. My friend is supposed to come up from Colorado. She is supposed to be here for a few weeks, actually. So that might cause a delay in getting a video out, as we're planning on doing some traveling around the state and what have you. But I'm going to try to get some videos done in advance so that there isn't a delay and you guys don't have to skip weeks of watching. And what else is going on? Well, yeah, I'm not exactly sure. But as you can tell, things are ramping up. But that is typical for life here in Alaska. Summers are our go time, busy, 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 and this summer appears to be no exception to that rule. So, with that being said, though, let's head over to the table here, and I'll show you some of the things that I was sent over the past couple of weeks. Both Kenai and I received some fabulous gifts in the mail, and I want to say thank you to each and every one of you who has sent something in. The first thing is Kenai got a nice big bag of some bacon strips from Renee Overton. So thank you very much for this, Renee. Kenai loves these, and he says thank you as well. And then from Beth Gruenwald, I received a bag of soft caramels, which I absolutely love, a beautiful card. So thank you for that. And then Kenai received another bag of bacon strips and some Bonkers bites. So he is going to be a very happy boy. And of course, he sends his love to you and Grissom. And then also I received from an anonymous viewer some silver wound spray. That is always a good thing to have. It's for Kenai as well. And then the other thing I received is a pair of night vision binoculars so that I can look for Bigfoot and Sass's relatives out in the woods. So thank you for that. You know who you are. I greatly appreciate both of these things. But wait, there's more. Every spring, my friend Carrie Ann sends me a care package, and she never fails to succeed in her selection of things that she sends to me. So this year, she sent me a couple of beautiful placemats, a couple of notebooks. This moleskin notebook is absolutely beautiful. Thank you for that, Carrie Ann. She sent me some flowers to liven up the cabin, a selection of candies, some lip balm, a little keepsake box, and some microfiber towels, some shortbread, a drying mat, some new kitchen towels. Aren't those absolutely beautiful? Reusable washcloth. There's actually 2 of these here. Or actually, there's 3 of these. Very nice. So if you're not familiar with these are made out of cellulose as opposed to cotton. But you can reuse these just like you would a normal dishcloth. And then she sent me some clothespins and a very nice Easter card and a handwritten letter. So thank you, as always, Carrie Ann. I greatly appreciate it. Oh, and I cannot forget the Starbucks card there as well. So, as always, Carrie Ann, I very much appreciate everything that you do for me. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you, not only those who sent in these wonderful gifts for Kenai and myself, but also those of you who are channel members, Whether you're here on YouTube, Patreon, or you have supported the channel in other ways, I really appreciate each and every one of you. And I appreciate those of you who are watching today, especially if you've watched this far into the video. That tells me that you like what I'm posting. And with that being said, I hope that you will subscribe to the channel and remember to give it a thumbs up. But also, if you've stuck around this long, why not stick around for a couple more minutes? Because I have some outtakes that I hope that you'll enjoy. So with that being said, here are the outtakes, and I'll see you again next week. Please stay safe and take care. Well, I went into town. And so I'm going to get started working in the garden, even though it's a little bit early in the season to do so. Planting. Yeah. So this past week, like I said, has been a really busy and kind of chaotic week for me, but it's been a good week. You know, nothing dire, drastic, or dangerous, but there were some aerobatic, but in addition to that, there is also some aerobatics, airplane aerobatics that take place. Acrobatics. There's been so much happening over the past couple of weeks that I'm not sure I will be able to remember everything to put into this video. But one thing that I do remember, I sound like I have Alzheimer's. You've contributed through a YouTube membership, Patreon, PayPal, or you've donated to the channel in other ways. Your support means a lot to me. So with that being said, that concludes today's video. I want to thank you for watching and joining me today. As always, stay safe and take care until the next time, and I'll see you then.